Good day everybody, welcome back to the studio. In this video I'm going to be telling you all the newbies about what you need before you start doing your resin art. Okay, I'm not talking about acrylic fluid art, I'm talking about resin art in particular. So I'm going to try and be as quick as possible. So have a pen and a paper or just use your phone. And I reckon, you know, because there's going to be a lot of information if you just type in your phone or write it down. I'm a pen and paper girl myself. Write down the times when I was talking about certain things, for example, 3 minutes, 20 seconds, talking about heat guns or whatever, things like that. Okay, so let's get started. So I've got everything set up in my studio here, and you can see up there, it's an air conditioner. You need a fan or something like that as well, just to blow all the toxins and things like that out as you know, as much as possible. Have your doors and windows open. Wear a mask or a respirator. I don't wear it because, as you can see, I wear glasses and I can't see. Everything is really blurry, so I can't see what I'm doing without them. So I don't wear a mask, or a mask is okay, it's tolerable, but the respirator is just too hard to see anything. So I don't wear it, but I do recommend it for everybody, you know. Wear a mask, protect yourself. Gloves. So I've got everything handy here. That's why it's so easy to do this. You need gloves, lots of them. You can chuck them out when you're done with them. So have lots of gloves. I also have, not advertising any brands or anything, but this is just an alcohol. It's actually multi-purpose wipes. They've got maybe about 20% alcohol in them, if that. I'm not really sure, I haven't read the thing, but it really helps to clean your gloves. If you don't have time to, you know, pull them off or anything, you clean them up. You can clean a few bits and pieces around. Have a little bottle of isopropyl alcohol, really great for cleaning things. So at the moment I'm just talking about these little things, and I'll probably miss some because I'm totally unprepared. But I just thought, you know, I'll do something because a lot of the times I still get asked about certain things that I think everybody should know, but silly me, huh? Okay, I had to stop the video there for a sec because a big truck was coming past and was too loud. Okay, now you need resin, obviously. When you're buying resin, ask people who have used it just to get a little bit of idea of it, and they can tell you how they use it and how it works for them. I use only a couple of different types, not because, you know, they're, you know, the best out there, but because they work the best for me. So I'm not mentioning any brand. This is not an advertising thing. But the one that I'm using is a 2-part 1-to-1 ratio. Very important that you know the ratios and how it is measured. If it's weighed or if you have to measure it by grams or milliliters, or, you know, so make sure you read that. Also, they all come in different viscosities. Some are a little bit thinner, more runny, and some are thicker. So it depends on how you want your art to flow. I personally like the thicker version because, you know, it sort of allows me to do different things and not have it run off on me. But if you're just doing fluid art, then the thinner one would be great for you. Low viscosity. Okay, so just remember, low viscosity, low air gives you the best flow. So there you go, you can remember that now. Okay, so let's just imagine you weighed your resin. The one that I'm using, I have to weigh it, which is really perfect for me. It's 1-to-1 ratio, so half. So if I want 100 milliliters, 50 of part A, 50 of part B, then I stir them, and then that's done. But you get different ratios. You get 2-to-1 ratio, you get 3-to-1 ratio. 2-to-1 is also very easy. You know, just read the instructions on the bottle just so that you get those ratios right. Why do you have to get the ratios right? Well, the companies will give you up to about 5% to make a mistake, okay? But if you put more of one part less than the other part, you are running a risk of your resin not setting. And you don't want that, because you have to scrape the whole thing and trash it, because it'll be no good. Okay, so when you're mixing your resin, okay, what else do you need? You need your cup to mix your resin in, or 2 cups, whichever way you want to do it. There's so many ways that you can measure resin. You can, if it's half, you can just use a measuring cup if you want to, or you can just use a regular throwaway cup and mark a level. You can even get a ruler if you want to be real exact, or count how many of the little lines it has and just mark it on the other one, and that's your half. But like I said, I weigh mine because that is what I have to do with this particular resin. So you need cups. Different size cups are great. These are great for smaller amounts of your pigments that you're putting in there. Then you've got the real large ones, and you can use a bucket, whatever. Depends on what you're doing, really. Okay, so you're going to be needing stirring sticks. So I always like to use a big stirring stick for stirring my resin in. And when you're stirring your resin, make sure that you scrape the sides like that and the bottom. Don't beat it, you know. If it's a little bit cool, your resin really needs 23 to 25 degrees temperature. 24 would be ideal, but you'll get that on a good brand will tell you the temperature that you will need. Okay, so I cheat sometimes, you know, if it's a bit cooler and I'm in a hurry, I just warm up my resin a little bit with the heat gun, but you know, that's something that you can do later on when you get a little bit more confident with it. So give it a good stir, and you will have bubbles in there. That's normal. I'll tell you how to get rid of them. But you don't want any strings in there, and no stringy bits flying around. It just looks like a bit of a hair in there. You want to get rid of all of that. So keep stirring until it's done. They reckon about 3 minutes stirring time. Depends on the temperature, really. For me, sometimes I stir it in 10 seconds, 20 seconds, it's done. Also depends on the volume. How much of it have you got in a cup? Obviously, a bigger cup is going to take you a little bit longer to stir it in. Also, if you have your resin in a cup, let's say like this, and you keep it like that, and don't do anything with it, it'll really get hot in there. So you've got to mix it in or stir the 2 parts together, and then add your, like, don't panic, you do have quite some time, but you don't want to leave it like that, sitting like that for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Depends on how much working time you get with each resin. That's another thing to look for when you're buying resin, how much working time you have. If it says 30 minutes, guaranteed you're going to get a little bit more. But then again, that all depends on your ambient temperature. If it's a warm day and it's warm in your art room, then you know you need to hurry it up a little bit, because it'll set quicker on you. Okay, so I think I've covered all of that. Make sure that you have plastic underneath your substrate. Oh, another thing with the stirring stick, so obviously you get different sizes. You can even get smaller ones than that. I find them really hard to use. You get the little plastic knives and use them, whatever you have, really. And I also sometimes recycle mine, because sometimes these jumbo size sticks are hard to find, and I've got even bigger than that. Actually, see if I can pull one out. Look at this. That's a big mama, that one. Okay, so if when you get the resin on it, obviously it sets, it dries up, and you can use it again. No problem. I do that with the little ones as well. Why waste it if you don't have to? Okay, substrate. So you can pour resin on a lot of things, you know. I've got a canvas here which I have primed with gesso. This is just a black gesso. Okay, You can even use, white gesso is perfect. It's just and you can add color to it, just as long as you know the white gesso, when it dries, it's still white. So whatever color you put in there, mix it in with it, it'll dull down that color, so it won't be as bright. Okay, and if you mix metallics with it, you won't get a metallic. It'll disappear. So you'll just get a really light color of that metallic. Okay, so substrate, make sure you have something to pop your substrate on. Canvas, a board. I've even got a little, this is my keyboard, for a keyboard for my Surface Pro. So I've already done a little layer on there because I had some leftovers, so I don't like to throw anything else. I had leftover resin which I just popped on there and kind of smudged it, so I will possibly get some more leftover resin and do the rest of it. But this is like a fabric material, so and it actually sticks better to fabric than board. You can put it on glass, lots of things. You can create beautiful sculptures, all kinds of things, but let's get you started first. So I use these tape holders, the cardboard tape, whatever you call it, rolls, that I have a lot of. So I use them to pop up my canvas, so the leaks that you may get, you know, they won't get stuck underneath. And then when you pull it up off your plastic, you pull your plastic and then you know, it's just too messy. You can use cups, whatever you have that's going to give you that even kind of surface. You also need a little leveler so that you can, whoa, I just got messy. Okay, so this is the thing. You've got to have everything handy so you can clean yourself up. Okay, a little level is great because you really need a leveled surface, so be sure to have that. Okay, then you're going to need some pigments. Okay, you can use powder pigments. These are all mine. I have my own brand, but you can use any. Like I said, not advertising today, just helping you guys out. It's already 12 minutes. I will probably cut some of it out, but not the important parts. So powder pigment, the way I mix those is, I will demonstrate because I'm going to be using this, so I'll demonstrate that a little bit later. I will do a little piece for you. I'm going to do something really super simple. So powder pigments are great. You can use the epoxy pastes, which are made especially for epoxy resin. So I've got a couple of colors here that I'm going to use. A metallic, so I'm using a pearl pigment, which is like a mica powder, and I've got a matte epoxy, another matte one which is opaque, quite kind of dense, and I've got a gold, which is a metallic. I like to combine all of them together when I'm doing my pieces to get those beautiful cells and lacing and all the kind of feathery, wrinkly effects that you get. I will recommend the Angel White from Le'Rez though. If you like the cells, they do amazing, amazing things. Okay, heat gun or a hairdryer. We're actually going to use a hairdryer today. I haven't done that in yonks and I'm quite excited to use it. So just a hairdryer, and my hairdryer was actually new but because I rarely used it and I used it here, it's covered in resin and paint and everything. A heat gun, any old heat gun. I've got a couple of them. I've got one hanging here, which is just a cheapie from the hardware store, and I do have several of them hanging about for my workshops, but any that will give you a couple of settings would be great. They're the simplest ones. You want something that will go fast and hot and something that will go slow and hot. Okay, same with the hairdryer. The same sort of thing. You want a couple of settings too because you want it pretty hot. Thinking, what else? Your heat gun will get really hot very quickly. Do not touch this part of it. you know, you can get the attachments which will give you different, like a longish tip, so you can create different things with it. But do not touch them. I accidentally did it just recently. That was a real rookie's mistake, I tell you that. I went to lift it and I burned myself. It wasn't too bad because my reflexes, thank God, are still good. So, but I dropped it in my painting and created a really cool effect in my painting. So, go figure. I have a metal table here where I keep all my things like this, hot things. So, but you don't have to. Anything that you can even sit it up. If you can sit it up like that on something. I even use these things. It fits perfectly in there and it'll sit like that. Anything. These are all the little tricks and things. Now I'm going to pause this for a second and just think if I forgot anything, and then I'll get back to you. Butane torch. This is a medium-sized one. You can get a real big one. You can get smaller ones. You can get even tiny little ones that you use in the kitchen for making those beautiful creme brulees. So this one, I like it. It's great for bigger pieces. I've got a couple of smaller ones as well, few of them, because I do use them, like I said, in my workshops. But these things are really, really good. I use them. I use it as well as my heat gun because this is the best thing for popping the bubbles. Just don't keep it in there for too long. Wave over it at a safe distance, you know. So that's that. Another important one. But if you don't have one, that's fine. You don't have to have everything when you're just starting, you know. A little heat gun is great. I think they're safer. You don't get that flame, but you still have to be pretty careful with that, you know. Alrighty, let's get on to something else. Again, I forgot something else to tell you. Tape, very important. Electric tape is, I find, the best thing that you can use for your edges. So let's see what we can. This painting was already ready to, you know, I've already got it all tidied up and ready to go to sell it or to hang it or something, but I decided to use it now. So I've already got tape underneath there, which I will use. So you put a tape, various, you know, widths. So tape underneath there if you want your resin to flow over and not catch the bottom, but you still want it on the side. And you can put the tape on the side if you want to keep, if you want to keep your resin on top and you don't want it sliding on the sides. You can paint the sides and you can varnish the sides and it will still look nice. So you can just go around with your tape. So this is just a thin single width. So I could use this smaller one for that. This one, it buggers up all the time. It's really annoying. So anyway, that doesn't want to work. I'll just pretend that this is a smaller one. And then you just go around and tape it and give it a little bit. Give it about that much, you know, because you don't want it folding on you. So then you just go around with it and you just tape the sides, okay? When you tape your sides, I find a really good trick is to just go around and pinch the tape. So just imagine there's a tape there. You go around and pinch the corners because that helps to keep that resin in that kind of a corner. So you get a nice triangle there. It's nicely squared and it doesn't collapse on you, and then, you know, it's just a little trick that you do. So make sure you're timing all of these things so you know where I was talking about what, and you can go back to it. And if you have any questions, please ask me. I will answer every question to the best of my ability. I've been doing resin for quite some time now. Otherwise, I started off as a traditional artist, and I still do that, and I paint art, mainly abstract these days, over my resin pieces with acrylic and inks. So that's something for later. If you are an artist, don't worry if if you are anyone really, don't worry if your resin piece doesn't work out, you know, because the beauty of resin is you can always put another layer over it and then create depth and create some really cool effects, and it's amazing. Or you can cover the whole thing and just never trash your piece. Even if your canvas buckles a bit, it will do that depending on your frame. This is quite a thick frame, so it's good. It's actually nice and straight. But if you use a frame that was made with pine or something like that, some softer material, it might buckle a little bit in time, and or with the heat. Also with your canvases, you could get that bowing. As it heats up, it'll lift. So to start off, maybe the easiest thing would be to start on smaller, maybe timber pieces or MDF boards or MDF coasters and placemats. You know, just start small, and they're flat, and then you know you've got a better surface to work on, and it's safer that way. Just level it right, and then later on you can use the canvases. Another trick that I have for canvases too, to minimize, it's never going to stop it fully, but to minimize that bowing of your, or rather, you know, you get a lump on usually in the middle or a dip in the middle. I cut out some cardboard and place it inside my canvas on the back of it, and you can also use some styrofoam if you've got it. I order a lot of stuff, so I get a lot of styrofoam, so I put that in there and it fits in beautifully inside. Just these little tricks that you can learn. These are the things that I've learned just from experience, and because I just I like to do things spontaneously, and if I'm ready to do a piece and I don't have what I need, I'm just going to make it, and you can do the same thing, you know. So I'm just giving you little shortcuts. That's all I can think of at the moment. I'm going to mix some of my resin now, and then also talk you through it all. Okay, so I've got my scale. Like I said, this measures by weight. So for this piece, 30 by 40 centimeters, normally I would need about 200 milliliters, but because you'll see what I'm doing, I won't need that much, and I will explain that as I go. So about 150. Which is 150, so what's that, 80, 75. Now, just approximately, I don't even know if I've got enough in here to do 75, so we'll just do with what I've got in the bottle. Saves me getting up and opening another bottle. I might make it to 70, 68, so it's 70 grams, and I'm going to tip out as another couple of grams, whatever I've got in there. You'd be surprised. This stuff's coming out pretty slowly. Now this is like a medium viscosity. It's not too runny and not too, you know, not too thick. So that's 72, so 144. I like this because it's quite accurate, and sometimes if I go over, it doesn't worry me. So that was part B, and this is going to be part A. You can tear it at this stage. Woo. So 142, right? Part A, put it over there. So stirring now. Here's my stick. Make sure your stick is clean, you don't have dust on it and stuff. So I usually start with just going like that, and then I kind of give it a little bit. It's a little bit cool in the studio, so it will take a little bit longer to mix, and at this stage it looks quite murky, We don't want that. We want it to be nice and clear. And here's what I told you before, what I do when I cheat. I heat the top of it. Don't play with this if you're really new, because you can overdo it and you don't want that. So that warmed it up a little bit, and now I can see straight away that it's mixing much better. Alrighty, so that's almost done. I've got some bubbles in there, that's fine. We know how to get rid of them with the torch or the heat gun. So I'm just going around now and scraping everything off the sides and the bottom at the same time, and just looking now to see if I got any stringy bits, and yes, I can see there are some. So if it was warmer in the studio this morning, this would have been already stirred up. But that also means that your resin would harden and start to cure much quicker. So this looks good now. So I will show it to you. You can see the bubbles, that's fine, but it's nice and clear. No stringy bits. Okay, let's mix some colors. I'm going to need just a small amount of each of these because I'm creating a really simple piece. And like I said, I've got everything on hand. All I have to do is turn around or reach over, and I've got everything that I need. I'll grab a couple of sticks. Now, the powder, I usually like to add a little bit of resin in there first. Just like that. Not measuring, just to cover the bottom really. And then I'm going to get my powder. Now, with the powders, 10%, 5%, 20%, you know, it depends on how transparent you want it. So if you want it more transparent or translucent, then you add less. So this is a really pretty color. If you would like to know what color this is, it's a blue sapphire by Le'Rez, just in case you want to do the same thing. And now that I've done that, now I'm going to add the rest. So I have made a little paste, and now I'm just going to combine it together. And at this stage, you don't even have to stir it all the way through. You can get some really nice effects, but I don't need that in this piece. And so just stir it in, and that's it. That's that color done. Look how pretty that is. Alright, put it on one side. Be careful when you're working with powders. They have very fine fibers or particles in them, so they will you don't want to breathe them in, is what I'm trying to say. Now I've got some ruby red, which is a matte epoxy pigment. This one 5 to 10% goes in. So how to know how much is what? Well, you can. I never do the paste first, because I find that I don't mix it right, and then I get that bottom part there that unmixed, which is not good. So I always like to add it on top.
I didn't understand that.
My Bixby just went, go away Bixby. Okay, so 10% is really easy to, you can partition your cup to 10, put 10 lines in there, equal lines, so one of those will be your 10% of the whole cup. I usually just eyeball things. You just don't want to put too much in there. Okay, so this is nice, pretty. I've made it nice and transparent, So I could add a little bit more in there. Oops. And then give that a little stir. Oh. Okay. And I'm going to use some Angel White. Same sort of deal. Put the lid on. You don't want dust and things flying in there. I've got my doors open, so Angel White. Don't want too much of it because it's quite a strong pigment, very dense. About 10% going in and stirring that in. Some pigments take a little bit longer. You will see that as you work with the resin, you will see that, or mixing anything, making your own paints. Some pigments just take longer. And what I do is I scrape them on the side here. I just scrape whatever I have on my stick rather, and then give that a mix and then bring that up to it, and you know, just you want to make sure that it's all mixed properly. And I can always add a little bit more to it if I want to. And this is a molten gold. Also don't need too much because it's just, it tends to take over. But I want a lot of that blue and a lot of that. With metallics, any brand, you always have to give them a little bit of a stir just to combine the pigments with the binder a little bit. And 10% going in there. I might actually put a little bit extra because I just love this gold. Put a bit extra of the resin, I mean. So now you've seen how to mix your pastes and how to mix your powders. Add a little bit more. And of course, when you add a bit more, you are thinning it down a little bit. So you know now that you can always fix it if you've got too much. If you feel that you've got too much paste or too much pigment in there and you want to thin it down, you can add more resin to it. Or if you want it more transparent, just add more resin to it. Okay, so that's that. Woohoo, how exciting. Okay, now I'm going to put this out of the way for now. Now I'm going to get my little holders and make sure I've got them up. There should be another one. Here it is. Okay, it just allows me to have that lifted, and then I can pop this on here, get the level. That's actually not bad, it needs to be lifted a little bit on that side, but maybe I can just do that. That might fix it. If you find that, you know, it's not leveled on some side, you can just stick a little stick in there or some cardboard or whatnot just to lift it up a little bit. Now that's too much, so just a piece of cardboard. I'm not going to worry about it. It's a tiny little bit. Oh, and that side, that's, canvases are difficult. That's why I said a board would be much better. So this one needs to go back there a little bit. Oh, see, that fixed it. Maybe this one. That one needs to be lifted a tiny little bit. See if I can do it. Oh, yep, that's working. Now that is good. It's not perfect, but it's good. Right, I've got to stand up for this one, guys. Right. You may see a few little bits and pieces, something scratched off the canvas there. I can see some little bumpy bits, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sand it down a little bit. Now I could use black, but I don't want to. I'm just going to use the black underneath. But I'm just not liking the little bumps that I got there from my gesso, so I'm just kind of smoothing that down a little bit, and then I'm just going to wipe it very quickly just to pick up that dust now. You don't want any of that stuff in there. Right, Now let's go with, I'm just going to go with my clear. I'm going to cover the whole piece with clear. And what this is doing, it's helping the movement of your resin, of the colors that you're going to put in. And I always leave a little bit behind because you never know if you're going to need it. So see, that really brought that black up a bit, so you can really see it. It's nice and black underneath there, but you can use black pigment if you like. However, you will get a different, completely different color at the end of it, because black would mix with some of these and create different colors. So I've got clear here, and I'm just using my fingers. You can use a stick. I find that it's quite satisfying doing this just with my fingers, and I get a better control. And also wear an apron or something like that, or wear old clothes. I can't even tell you how many pajamas I've got covered in resin. Sunday morning resin play. Okay, and I'm gonna just go around the edges as well, because I want this to flow over and I don't want it getting stuck there and moving back on me. So I want it to flow over, so that's why I am applying this clear, just picking it up from the middle there and just going over the edge. Doesn't have to be too much, just enough. Just a little smear of it will do the trick, you know. Now let's see, I haven't used the hairdryer in such a long time, but you can really create some cool things. Also, when using a hairdryer, you've got to make sure that you've got your cups and things out of the way, because it does tend to make everything fly all over the place, as well as dust and things like that if you've got any. Okay, so I'm happy with that. That's covered now nicely. Now at this stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my torch just to blow bubbles. And you probably can't see, but they're popping. I can see them popping all over the place. So that's that done. Have it here. Now, just going to do a little design, and I think I even have too much here, but anyway, let's see what happens. At this stage, you can do a dirty pour, you can do a puddle pour, you can do any kind of pour that you want to do. A toothpick is really handy to pull out hairs and things like that. Any fibers that you may, you know, it just drops in there. So now that we got that, now I'm going to go over with my red. I absolutely love this red, and with the white it'll turn into a really pretty pink. I just want to do something really simple for you guys. So puddle pour, I could just pour everything one in top of in the other in the middle, but I won't. I'm going to just go around this way. Try not to drip too much. What's going on? There we go. I'm going to leave a little bit in the cup. Ooh, look at that. See what I mean when I'm talking about having your, and I'm running out. I have to open another bag soon. Your wipes. Your multi-purpose wipes. Alright, so I've got that down. Now I'm going to go, I'm just going to layer these colours over the top of that. This crisscrossing a little bit. Going to do the white I might crisscross this one the other way. Like I said, won't need a lot. This is even too much. Do another piece with these. And this blue, I might just go straight over the top of that red and out there. Now I might just add a little bit more of the gold just because I love it so much. And I can always add other things, and you never know what's going to happen. Okay. Now that I've done that, oops, I just got to move these a little bit because they'll fly everywhere. Okay. Alright. Here's the hairdryer. It's already plugged in. I'm just going to give it a little wipe because it's been sitting there and probably has dust on it. I don't want any of that dust flying in my piece, so that's why I'm giving it a little wipe. And always test it out. Oh, I just knocked something over there. Oh my god. Okay, so we want it hot. Put it on hot. So I've got it set up on hot. Alrighty, let's go. Move all the stuff out of the way and pray that I don't make a big mess. Always start from up high. Wow, that's really interesting, isn't it? Alright. That is so cool. At this stage you can tilt it. I need a little bit more of the white in here. Sorry, clear. Because it wasn't moving for me. I'm just adding a bit more there. So I might just move, I really like that black area there. I might just try and push it over there. But look at all the cells. And that blue with the ruby red and oh my gosh, all of that stuff. Sorry, I get excited a little bit. So we can tilt it. You can have something, like a cup or something, another piece to tilt over that way. So it's moving slowly. It's not like your acrylic pouring. I might just do some little, just like little something in the middle there. Maybe even in here. Yep, that happens sometimes. What can you do? And I think I might want a little bit of blue in there as well. So this is called puddle pouring. I'm just making little puddles. And you can leave it like that. You don't have to move it anymore. Just have those tiny little puddles in there. It looks great. Just like that. Just want a tiny little bit of the white. Literally a drop going in there. I'm just playing now. I could have finished this painting in 10 minutes done. But at the moment I'm playing, just seeing what happens. And I really love that there. Actually, I am going to put a little bit of red. This is a ruby red. Right in there. It's transparent. So transparent and opaques, they create their own things. It's really cool. And I might even put a tiny little drop of gold on top. So it's still okay, you know, for newbies to play with this. Just don't worry about the time too much, because you can still heat it up. And if you muck it up, don't worry too much. You'll be able to to put another layer over it. Okay, so that is nice like that. I could even leave it like that, but no, I would not. That would not be me. That there is just looking absolutely unbelievable. So I will heat it up a little bit with my torch. Because I want that movement, as well as busting the bubbles, and I want to move it over that way. That's where I want it to go. So you can see that you can use the hairdryer. It's much more forceful than your heat gun. So I've got everything plugged in, ready to go, and I recommend everybody do that. Just give that a bit of a clean. So. Now you don't have to go back and forth, back and forth. You can use one tool. I'm just showing you all the possibilities. Wow, so that's pretty cool looking. Gonna go around and use up all of this clear that I have here, and just making sure that I cover everything. There's a few drips. Oh, the sides are looking marvelous, and that's gonna do its own thing. It's pretty dark because it's on black background, but I like it. That's why you use that gold, and you use your white and things like that. So I like that. I could go with more, add more gold to it. But I actually like it like that. Looks really great. Torch again to blow the bubbles. That to me looks really, really cool. I really like it. Have your little toothpick or a shish kebab stick and just pull out those things that are not supposed to be in there. At this stage you can sprinkle some glitter powder over it if you want. In fact, that's what I will do. Sorry, I just tend to think on my feet, as they say. I just want a little bit of sun catcher. Is a really pretty, actually maybe even so, very, very fine. So you want to, you can even sprinkle it like this if you want, because it's so fine, but I won't do it that way. Just going to pick some up and just sprinkle a little bit everywhere. You can mix this in with your resin, obviously, and your pigments, but I just thought of it now. So it does look complicated, doesn't it? But you've seen how easy it was to make. And the little breeze that I have coming from the door is really helping to move that pigment. This is super fine. If you ever get it, don't breathe it in, whatever you do. Especially if you use it a lot. So to me that looks a little bit like something that you could see in NASA pictures. Like a nebula. There you go. So that's that done. Wipe my fingers to get rid of all that glitteriness. So that's not glitter. That is actual shimmer powder. And that to me is done. Gonna leave it. Like I said, I could add more things to it, and I'm always tempted to add more, but it's already doing so much. So what I'll do is I'll grab another piece and just do a real quickie with these colors, but for now, just I hope that you got a lot out of this video and that it helped you somewhat. So if I missed anything, and I'm sure I have, just let me know, please, just in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and happy painting. Bye for now.